Okay, this is my friend Chris Bartik, and look what he brought over today. Tell us what you got there, Chris.
All right. Well, after watching Thad Beckham and Keith Shannon's video about the black Tupelo bows, I said I know exactly where I could get some of this wood. After being in the tree business for quite a few years and selling firewood, I have firsthand knowledge how tough this wood is. So I was like, Joe, I know exactly where I can go get some. So today I went out and I picked out a pretty straight tree, cut it up, and brought it over here. We just split it up with the chainsaw, and we're gonna make a couple bows and see how good it comes out.
Yeah. Now you told me when you went to split this, right? It was tough.
Years back, I got a truckload of this stuff, clearing a piece of property, not knowing what it was, and I actually blew hoses on my log splitter trying to split this up with a hydraulic splitter. Wow. The way that the grain is interlocked and it's just like grows in like a spiral interlock. It's crazy tough wood. So
you cut it in quarters with the chainsaw, and what I'm going to do is try to square it up on a bandsaw, and we're going to steam the bark and cambium off, and then we're going to try and make bows out of these. You got 4 of them, yeah. And if we even make 3 out of it that look good, we're ahead of the game, right?
Right.
So, all right, thanks, man. You're always supplying wood, and
I enjoy it.
Yeah, I know we both do. That's why we get along so
part
good.
of the hunt.
Yeah. All right. Good morning. It's Wednesday, October 22nd, and I have one of those black Tupelo quarter logs here, and what I'm going to do is use the circular saw to trim the edges off. We're going to make it at least 2 inches wide cut. We're going to try and square it up here. Has to be wide enough that I can put in the steamer. So when we put it in the steamer for an hour and 15 minutes and take it out, this bark and cambium will peel off like a banana. It should be just like every other wood that I steam. The cambium bark after an hour and 15 minutes peels right off. So to get the lines to follow with a circular saw, I tried the blue chalk line, which I've been using, and it's very hard to see. Tried red. The red's a little better. And me and Chris were looking at this saying, well, maybe a white piece of chalk. And probably a white piece of chalk would work. I ordered the white chalk line powder, and I just used it, and you can't see. I guess because of the grayish in the bark, it don't work. So I snapped the red lines, and I put down. I have like a crayon, a woodworking crayon that's yellow, and I put that down. So between the red and the yellow, I should be able to use the circular saw to trim off the sides of this big enough, and then we'll have to take this peak. I'll have to take this peak down. There's a lot of ways I could take it down. I could chop it off. I could just use the chainsaw to just take it off so it's a little flatter. And there's a lot of things I could do with this, but the edges are important, okay? So that's what we're going to try and do. What I'm going to try and do today is I'm going to try and just square it up a little bit, see how it comes out. All right, this is very tough wood, and I actually have a bigger circular saw coming. And they didn't give me a delivery date yet, but a few days, and it's going to be big enough that I could cut a 4x4. The circular saw. I get older. Life is short. Sometimes a good tool you spend the money on. So if I got a little bigger circular saw and I cut these in the future, it'll buzz right through them. I won't have to use any wedges or anything else to help split this. Okay, so that's coming. You'll see that in action hopefully in another day or so. But today I'm going to just take the regular 7¼ or whatever it is, 7.5-inch chain circular saw and cut some lines and see if we can square this one up to see what it looks like. So these marks are actually 2.5, and when we do shape it up, trim it up and final shape it, we're hoping the limbs will be around 2 inches. So just to be clear, this is 2.5 inches, so we have a little bit of tiny bit of wiggle room. If I could see the line, I'm going to cut on the outside of the line. I have a ratchet strap on the far end here for stability. I have wood with notches cut out to stabilize this. I'm going to run the saw up, and at some point I'll put this ratchet strap down the other end. There's a strap on the back. A couple of these little tough fibers here, we're just going to trim nice. This is tough, the toughest wood there is to split. Okay, I got to trim it up. One down, 3 more to go. I squared the bottom up on the bandsaw, and it cuts good. The wood's very tough to split, but it cuts really good with the bandsaw and the circular saw. And then I laid out lines because it's a little rough. It catches in the tube when I go to put it in the tube. So I got to trim the edge over here a little bit, and I got to trim the edge down there. You can see it goes out a little bit. I have a line, and I drew with the yellow. And just so you know where, the bulge is, I put a crayon mark there and a crayon mark there, and I drew a line. And this shows the length. So when I'm working on the bandsaw, I could tell that I have to just trim the edge, okay? And like I said, this is much wider than we need, but we always want it wider than we need. And I did the same on the other side. Where it's bowed out a little bit. And I put a crayon mark here to here. So I know the area I got to trim. And I don't go into the other areas. Okay, this way it fits in a steam tube. And fits in a steam tube, and we're able to peel it and have a pristine back and take it from there. We're going to check the fit with this. This is not a heavy-duty PVC. This is a drain pipe, and we're going to check the fit now that we have it trimmed. And we don't want to have to force it in or out of the tube. Okay, you see it fits nice. It didn't fit nice before, but we trimmed it up on the bandsaw. Okay, so at first when you trim it up, it's okay to have it a little wide, and then make it a little thinner to fit the tube afterwards. Okay, this way you rather have more than not enough, and you rather trim off a little bit and really have a decent stave when you steam that off. Okay, I don't know what lies underneath that bark and cambium, but I'm thinking positive that it's going to be all good. Just to give you a little update on the chalk lines, the The blue really don't show up that well. I bought white because of the grain of bark. I thought that would be the best. It was the worst. The red seems to show up more. So between the red and the yellow crayon, me marking it, and my glasses, wearing my glasses, which you should have goggles on when you're cutting wood, but I'm using the glasses because it helps me see. And also check out if the wood's toxic or not. You need a mask for the dust, but it's very calm today. Everything's good. And I laid out the line, so that's it. The red chalk line is the best for the bark, with followed by a yellow carpenter's crayon, and it'll help you see the lines, okay? This is the 4th quarter of a log that was a little narrower. So what I did was I made it closer instead of making it extra wide, a little wider to be trimmed down after we put the design. I made this one like 2 inches. So because on the end over here, if I left it wider, it would have been narrow. It would have been a wedge, and this part where the grip would be smaller. So this bow will have a smaller grip when it's steamed and the bark comes off, and then if we make the limbs just a little thinner, we'll make it on this side thinner, and it'll make it a little thicker because of the taper. All right, so the bottom line is, if you have a smaller wedge section of log, I make it closer to like 2 inches, and then I'll make it to 1 3/4 or whatever I want when I'm done. But it'll make the wedge part, the handle part, a little thicker, okay? I hope that's clear. Now that we have this cut out into a bow stave, there's a point, like a wedge, the wedge of the log that we took off. So I drew a line parallel with the bark, okay? And we're going to trim it on a bandsaw. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the bark here, the back of the bow, the part that will be away from you. And I'm going to try and keep this bark straight up and down with the table, square. And if there was a dip, let's say it dipped this way a little bit, as I'm pulling it, and I'll hold this very tight against the table, hold it in under my arm, and hold it tight and pull it so it don't twist and snap the blade. If it twists, I'll go down, and if it straightens out again, I'll go up. In other words, I will make the cut with the shape of the bark. Okay, I'll try and make it with the bark. So if the bark goes a little bit this way, the cut I'll alternate, okay? And that's how we're going to do it. So, and you're going to pull it through. We're going to pull it through so your hands are nowhere near it. This is Mackinac hickory. This is 73 inches long, and it had a little twist to the wedge, to the log, and I know from making these bows that at the fade outs I can go down to 1.5 inch at the fade out and taper them down to 1/2 inch at the tips. And this is 73 inches long, and for somebody with a 28-inch drawer and a solid riser with a grip, we can make them 68 inches long. So we got plenty of room to work with. So we're going to leave this hole, steam it, and pick and choose the layout of the bow that's going to go on this. Okay, it's trimmed. It was trimmed on a bandsaw, and we're good to go. I got one more hickory, so that'll be a total of 6 staves that are ready to be steamed when I'm done. This is the other half of the Mackinac log. And when I look at this damage like this here, I know it's probably going to be bad underneath. So what I'm going to do is, this is going to be the edge. I'm going to trim this off, and we're going to see what it looks like, and the bow will be down here. Okay, I'm going to move it over. That's where we're going to cut it off. Okay, we split it. I'm going to show you that section that was pretty bad. Looked bad. Here's that section on the Mackinac hickory that we cut off to avoid problems. It was a branch. I'm sure if we would have peeled off the bark and cambium on this, that would be a problem for making a bow. So we avoided it by cutting it off. But when you look on the inside, it's really not that bad, but you know underneath here would have been a problem. So we eliminated it. So now all I got to do is trim the other side of this, and we should get another bow blank out of this. All right, this was the stave that had damage on the top of the bark, and I trimmed it up a little bit, and you can see this big dip here, and I wouldn't use this. It's going to be firewood, but then I want to show you the other side. Let's take a look at the other side quick. You know, when you look at the other side here, it don't look too bad, right? So how narrow can I make this? I really don't know. But I may trim a little bit on this side to see if I could use it or not, just to play around. I may draw something on the bark and trim it out. Yeah, I made it narrower. Okay, because it's like 1 3/4. I can go 1 1/2 when it's finished. And now that I made it narrower, you can still see a little dip, but it's really not that bad that it'll be in the limb. It could be steamed for the bark and the cambium, and then when I go to put it on a backset jig, I'll be able to heat it up and get it to hopefully straighten out and be level. I can straighten it out on a fire hardening jig with the heat gun and then cook it, and it might take a set. So I'll put this one on the side. You know, after I steam it and take the cambium and the bark off, I'm going to put it on the side, and then one day when I'm bored and I have nothing to do, this will be the one to see if I can make a bow out of. Meanwhile, I'll use the good wood. You always look for the best wood you can, and this one here will be a day when I'm bored to try and make a bow out of. Just wanted to show you, you got to look at the wood from all angles, and you may be able to save a wedge of log and make a bow out of it, even when it looks like you probably can't. Well, I'm tired. I feel my age. So Chris came over, Chris Bartik, my friend, and he brought some black Tupelo and corded it with the chainsaw because it's tough. It's really hard to split. So he cut it into quarters, and then today my job was to make staves out of it, okay, to cut it like so it'll fit in a steam tube, and we'll be able to steam this for 1 hour and 15 minutes each one, and peel the bark and cambium off like a banana to leave a pristine back. And we'll be able to draw a bow design on it, trim it out, put it on a fire hardening backset jig, cook it, and tiller it, and hopefully be shooting these, okay? Also had in the back Mackinac hickory log that wasn't the greatest, and while he had the chainsaw out, he cut that in half. So we had a log cut in half, and today I trimmed it up and I was able to make 2 staves out of that. They're not the greatest, a little wonky, but Going to put them on the side, and someday if I'm bored, I'll be able to shape them and heat treat them to get them nice and straight and put them on a fire hardening back set jig. Those are Mackinac hickory. So anyway, long day today. Got a wheelbarrow full of firewood from these and the last batch. I just put the wood on the side. I got to put this in the back now. But I'm done for today. Long day. And we got more videos to come. Okay, that's the end of this video. The next video is going to have me steaming it, peeling off the bark and cambium. And then Chris and me are going to take one of these. We're going to shape it like a bow blank. We're going to use a heat gun. We're going to get it to conform to the fire hardening jig. Then we're going to fire harden it. Then we're going to tiller it. And then we're going to shoot it. Okay? So hopefully it all works out. And I'm going to put in the comments section a link to Thad Beckham, Keith Shannon's black Tupelo bow that they made. Okay? And thanks for watching. Every day you get up is a great day. Okay? And we look forward to having you watch the other videos.